internets, Jesus loves you. My name's Cody, and this is the Christian News Show we do on Tuesdays and Thursdays with GeeksUnderGrace.com. And before we get into the news, Patreon, we have one of those. If you want to help support Geeks Under Grace, you can go to patreon.com/geeksundergrace and donate a few bucks. It would mean the world to us. But the first story of the day brings us to Sadie Robertson. I'll admit straight up, I give her grandpa a lot of flack. But when it comes to Sadie Robertson, we've talked a lot about whether or not celebrities should be Christian, and if anyone's doing this correctly, it's her. I think she's just so authentic that even though she has this real mainstream appeal, she also is not ashamed to tell you about her beliefs. I mean, when you think of Hollywood, you don't really think of positive role models. But Sadie is in the news today because she broke up with her boyfriend, and wow, that sounds so TMZ. Is TMZ still a thing? It is. I checked. But it's not so much about her breakup that made it newsworthy to me. It's the way that she handled it. She just made a YouTube video a few days ago. It's been about a month since the breakup, I guess. And she basically says, if I have to deal with this breakup, and I do, I want to do so in a way that encourages the people who watch me. And then she proceeds to do so, talking about not being bitter and growing from each experience. I think it's really cool. I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to check it out. I just love the stuff that she is doing with her platform. It's very cool to see. Next up, I feel like I need to talk about the Is A Boob Man video that SNL made. First off, basic rundown, it's a parody of God's Not Dead and God's Not Dead 2. It's about a Christian baker and then a gay couple comes in to get a wedding cake. They go to court and then God's Not Dead 3 happens. And I always try to get this in here in some way, but I don't want to make it the entire conversation. We'd get made fun of a lot less if we didn't tell everyone to serve everyone and then refuse service to people we disagreed with. That said though, the video is totally offensive. I get it. I have a pretty broad sense of humor. I think almost everything is funny. This whole thing is just kind of in bad taste. And so I get that people are offended, but I don't understand the uproar because we are Christians. I don't know at what point we decided that what the world thought of us mattered. And I know a lot of people go, could you imagine if they would have done this to a Muslim group of people? We're not Muslims. You know, I always heard as a kid, walk away, be the bigger man. God can handle it. For real, I think the only thing we can really do with situations like this is show them what we stand for. It's really hard to make fun of people who are taking care of the poor or the sick or the least of these. Haha, he helped feed someone at a homeless shelter. Isn't super funny. But moving on, final story of the day brings us to Utah, where there are two new pieces of legislation that may or may not be signed. We don't know yet. Most likely they will be. Both having to do with porn. One of them states that if a technician finds child porn on somebody's computer, like they're working on a computer and they see that stuff, they do have to report it. Which, yeah, specifically since it's child porn, like if a technician comes in and they have to work on your computer and they see something, I think they have the right to let people know that something illegal is on it. But this legislation does say that if somebody does go and work on a computer and they see this stuff and they don't report it and like the government finds out, they could be liable for criminal activity. And then the second piece of legislation is interesting because there aren't any repercussions for it. I don't really understand how it's a law in any way. But basically what it does is it labels porn as a public health hazard, saying that first off, it equates abuse towards women and children as pleasure, therefore that's a bad thing. I remember reading this somewhere, but there's like 12-year-old kids who see this stuff before they've even had their first kiss with a real person. Like, of course it's going to put certain ideas in your head of how things should be. But Utah is also saying that porn should be accredited towards prostitution and sex trafficking and the demand for all of those kinds of things. And really, I wish we did this a lot more. We outlaw a lot of things that we don't like, but I think showing people why they're wrong is much more important. You tell a kid not to do something, they want to do it. You tell a kid why not to do something, they're a little more inept to understand the reasoning. But I don't think that's just kids, that's everyone. We don't like being told no. Our answer is always, why not? And so I just think when you start with the why, everything makes a little bit more sense. Question of the day, what do you think of offensive videos against Christianity? Do they offend you or do you just not care? I want to know what you guys have to say, so please leave a comment in the comment section down below with your answer. I feel like there's a lot of variety to answers here, so I'm curious what you guys have to say. Make sure you check out GeeksUnderGrace.com for more geeky content. My name's Cody Armour, bringing you Christian news in a not-so-boring kind of every Tuesday and Thursday. In closing, let the haters hate, let the Christians pray. And to everybody like, subscribe. I will see you later, and God bless.